With me tonight is Maureen Cleary, who's just produced a new resource here called Prayers for Meetings, a complete ready-to-use kit. Maureen, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about where this idea's come from. You've worked for many years in running courses and things.
And religious organisations, and I guess it's come from going to so many meetings with bad prayers at the beginning. And or even people putting something together and it seems so complex, having to find the music and find the right words and photocopy enough, and often the product that people get into their hands isn't beautiful. Whereas if people are coming to pray, I believe that they've got to be in touch with something that's really beautiful to lift their minds and hearts to God. And so that's where this idea came from.
And it must be a huge amount. I remember when I used to work in the Catholic Education Office, the number of meetings where you'd start it with a prayer. And I presume Catholic healthcare, and then there are all of them. Not-for-profit organisations and so on.
And I think that what happens a lot is that people think the prayer is something you just do at the beginning and you get it over and you put aside and then you get down to the business of the meeting. Whereas I believe that if people are going to make values-based decisions in religious organisations, then they have to be in touch with the God world and the values in order to do that. So you can't have that dichotomy. If we've had the prayer, let's put it away.
I like the comment that you made at the launch there about financial organisations, and when they get into to making their decisions, that the prayer is the last thing that people think about.
But even in lots of religious organisations, I find that people will talk about the hard and soft stuff of the decisions. They think the hard decisions are to do with finances and legal matters, and the soft stuff, they tell me, is like the values and the philosophy and the mission. And we leave that to the religious people to look after that. We get on with the hard stuff. Whereas in fact what you're trying to do is bring those values to the core of all decision making, whether it be about finances or anything else.
So quickly, just tell us, what is it actually in the kit?
Well, in the kit there's 12 prayer themes.
Right.
Yes. So there's 12 prayer themes, and people get 20 copies of a prayer sheet for each theme. So it's all ready, just to choose the theme, go to the meeting, hand it
So if it's young people at a meeting, there are themes in there for young people? If it's
I think it cuts across. You know, I've tried to make the language totally accessible for anyone, that it's simple and inclusive and not full of religious jargon. So that whoever's sitting at the table...
So it's written in contemporary language?
It is, so that whoever's sitting at the table can feel at ease with being part of the process, whether they've got a theology degree or they're really just not even on a faith journey. That it's there, and the sheets have been treated so that you can use them. They're long lasting. They can be put away. So you've got the 12 themes, and then each kit has a CD of music of Australian religious composers, and those songs finish each of the prayer meetings. So you've got all the music there. As well as there's a 2-minute reflective piece at the beginning of just reflective music to get the group into the God space, basically.
I can see this being enormously successful.
Well, I hope so.
I think you've hit on the winner here from
that's why I called it a complete ready-to-use kit, so that people can just pick it up and take to the meeting and not have to say, where are we going to get the sheets photocopied, where's the music coming from, all those things.
Now, just on a wider theme, before we started here, Monica O'Brien, who helped you put all the music together, gave me a little briefing about you, and you actually have quite a history in religious education, in schools, in Catholic healthcare, and also in change management. And you've done a lot of work with religious congregations over the decades, is it?
It is.
And helping them to, with, what is it?
Well, I do a lot of work with religious congregations of nuns and priests and brothers, helping them through this immense change in their congregational life that's occurring to them with ageing members, but lots of them with lots of very, very important sponsored works. Mm-hmm. So some of those relationships might be a 5-year change management program basically with the group. Mm-hmm. And then I do a lot of work on the governance of those organisations. So that's the groups who are actually making final decisions within those organisations. So,
well, I think I'd better put in a recommendation to Benedict to come and find you, because I think the institution itself is in need of a great amount of change management at the moment.
I think that could be true. I mean, one of the things that I've always felt was like Vatican II provided the most wonderful framework for change in the church, but the structures of the church never changed.
Yeah.
So the potential that could be has never come to pass, because the structures never kept up.
What I'm finding, I'd like your feelings on this, is that in the mid-60s, I left school in 1965, and I remember that vibrancy was there when I was at university. And it really, it was there really until about the mid-1980s, and then it started to die.
Sure.
Now, these people, who my generation and older, who knew that excitement and so on, they're now aging.
That's right. Well, we're all beginning to retire, and it's a whole new group of people coming behind that haven't touched necessarily, may not have touched that vibrancy.
Yeah. Yes. Do you think the church will ever be able to communicate with the broad masses of young people again, or I'm talking this in a change management sort of thing now?
Well, I think there's a whole range of movements occurring, and I think probably what I see now is that while Vatican II talked about the role of the laity and how important that was, I think we're only actually beginning to see the emergence of the real strength of the laity, and that's sadly almost happening by default.
Yeah.
Because there aren't enough priests, brothers and nuns around. But I think there are movements like the movements, the ecclesial movements, the lay ecclesial movements that are happening throughout the world. They haven't really found their feet within the Western world, but they're they're huge in the other parts of the church's world. And they're quite, I understand in Spain, 45% of Catholics in Spain have no connection with the church other than through a lay ecclesial movement. And so I just think there's another whole life that's coming through there. I'm not sure what it will mean, but there's life there.
Yeah.
And I think we see life in the Western world happening through religious institutes now setting up new public juridic person structures for laity to actually take over the governing of their health systems and their education systems into the future. And, we've got about probably 7 or 8 of those now setting up in Australia. Yeah. And that's a whole new thing, completely new, having lay people involved. I mean, basically you'd have a group of members in those structures who are the equivalent of the leadership team of a religious institute.
Yeah.
So it's...
We're yet to see quite a massive change.
It's massive
in the
change.
Culture of the institution.
Absolutely, and the bishops are struggling to understand how they'll even relate to such a group.
Yeah.
Legally, and it's all okay with Rome, and it's all been set up, but it's such a shift culturally.
Yeah.
That so I think we are seeing those signs of life. I'm not sure what they mean.
I think I'll have to come back and interview you at depth at some stage.
Thank you.
Listen, all the best with this endeavour.
Thank you.
And